Now, ladies and gentlemen, Christmas is just around the corner. Now, we all have a bit of turkey and stuffing at the Christmas time.
Yeah.
But you're going to be looking like a dessert.
Oh.
With our sponsorship today. Tell them about us.
You know what? Dessert's nice, but I feel like gravy. To be honest, I feel like a bit of gravy.
Yeah, and you're looking like
gravy.
different gravy.
Different gravy.
Trust me, with Manscaped.
Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0.
Yeah.
Package.
Yeah. It's not just a trimmer, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just a trimmer, okay? This, as we've mentioned before, is a trimmer that, sorts out your downstairs area.
You can sort out your upstairs as well.
It can sort out your upstairs area. Just give it a wipe first, probably. I would probably say.
I'd recommend that.
Yeah. But we've got the Lawnmower 4.0. Which is just it's not your standard trimmer though, is it? Because it's got a light on.
LED, baby.
And it's waterproof, mate. So if you fancy having a shave in the shower, you're sorted.
It's like the LEDs on the bottom of the F1 cars when they run around Las Vegas.
That would be quality, actually. Yeah.
Decent. They had just loads of Lawnmower 4.0s on the bottom of that Mercedes. That's actually what they did.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
The crop preservable deodorant as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Smelling fresh.
Yeah, we're smelling fresh stuff to treat everything down there as well. And obviously, it's a bit of a sensitive area, isn't it? Realistic. You don't want to get cuts and nicks down there. No. And you won't. You won't with the Lawnmower 4.0.
So head to manscaped.com. Code last lap for guess how much? Guess what percentage? Go on.
Surely it's something like 10%. That's a big whack already, right?
More.
15%.
More.
Oh, you're treating us here.
He's a happy man.
20%. 20% off.
Oh my goodness.
Manscaped.com. Sensational stuff. The Lawnmower 4.0 to get stuff to treat your balls after you've shaved, and also you've got the little ear one, the nose one as well.
Ear, nose.
The little hairs in there as well. You're sorted.
Wherever there's a hair, Manscaped can sort you out.
Exactly.
Do it. Manscaped.com.
Check it out down in the description below.
Last lap. Boom. All right, you lot, don't forget to give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating. Trust me, it really does help us out. He's had started at Sauber, moved to Toro Rosso, Red Bull, Ferrari.
Aston Martin.
Now Aston Martin.
Mm-hmm. Now home.
And now watching at home.
How do we reflect on his career? Where do we put Seb amongst?
I think it's a great example showing what the Red Bull junior program helped for him, because he got brought in as a Red Bull sort of junior, and then got into arguably like Red Bull's most dominant era of being like 2017 upwards, and it's just really goes to show that like he's such a great racer. And I think his change of like mannerism into how he approaches racing, he went into, when he swapped to go to Ferrari, clearly the reason he kind of did that is because like, all right, I've got my 4 championships now, I want to go to a really good heritage team and bring like to have like how can you capitalize a bit more on that? Like, all right, I've won my first race, okay, now I've won my first championship, what can I do now? Right, I'm going to win a championship with Ferrari. With Ferrari. I mean, can you imagine? Exactly. It's like obviously Michael Schumacher, who is his idol as well. There's loads of great photos he's been showing on his Instagram of like old stuff when he used to be karting. It's like, cool, I'm going to win a championship with the same team which my hero's done it with. Wasn't able to because obviously like the caliber of like Red Bulls and Mercedes and everything was still so good. But I think that like one of my we were talking earlier about on the last lap show, that it's like one of my favorite moments of him was his first win with Ferrari, because you hear on the radio not only Seb's sort of like emotions winning for Ferrari, which they hadn't won for quite a while, I believe. But like it's like they were saying on the team, Ferrari are back. We're now winning sort of again, and it's obviously Seb's sort of like his delight seeing what could potentially be. But I think that's probably my sort of favorite bit. What you got yourself there?
From my all-time favorite moment from Seb is probably like the first that put him on the map, which was like the win at Monza with Toro Rosso, because like I love an underdog for a start, and Toro Rosso were like still at that point kind of a bit Minardi-ish. They'd only just kind of, I think they'd been Toro Rosso for like 3 years.
2006, I think.
They got taken over.
Taken over.
So it was kind of like, wow, you are in a bad car, I'll be totally honest, and you're like a 21-year-old Don who's just come through and like
won it on merit
in tricky conditions, tricky qualifying, all that sort of jazz, and it felt like a moment.
It was raining massively, wasn't it? Right,
and he put it on pole.
And
he just took off.
And everyone was kind of like, it was raining yesterday, so probably gonna just be one of those like when Hulkenberg, did it in Brazil. And then he actually just drove away from everyone. It was like, oh wow, yo, this guy's actually very serious. As I mentioned before, I'm always one of those people, as I said, I like the underdog. When domination starts to happen, I don't dislike someone at all because it's a show of how good someone is at their craft. But I'm always just kind of like, I just want someone else to win.
Of course.
So during that sort of 4 years, the first year, incredible. 2012, sensational end as well. I was loving that. But 2013, I was kind of like, oh, that's okay.
And it was so dominant in 2013.
2013 was ridiculous. But again, just a show of how
But again, people
sensational
forget,
he is as a driver.
2010, first one, Dubis Veltmeister.
Wasn't even leading the championship at any point until
he was the
final
outsider
race.
going into that final race. And also, like 2012, Alonso pushed him right to the end as well. So he didn't get all those 4 championships easy. It's easy to look back and be like, oh, he just walked it. But yeah, I mean, 2011, 13 will convince him.
And there were good other cars during that period as well. Like it wasn't like the Mercedes era at the start, especially where it was, okay, you're just battling your team.
Plus, not without any controversy, like multi 21 and like with Webber, and it's where like it's kind of, we're seeing the same sort of things play out kind of now, but it's just gone to a new audience who maybe didn't watch the previous seasons because obviously they might not have been born yet or can't remember that much. It's all different. But do you have like a particular memory for?
Well, no, I think that in terms of F1 moments that make me like, when there's that buzz that you get inside, and that dopamine hit. That 2010 Dubis Veltmeister.
Yeah,
it's not even so much. It's the whole moment together. The radio's perfect. All of that is just like, oh my god. And the fact that he came back as well. Like he wasn't the favorite going in. Like Webber was ahead of him. Alonso was ahead of him.
Yeah.
He wasn't the favorite going into that race, and he turned it around. That was levels. But obviously, like he's had such a long career, and there's been amazing highs. There's been some tough lows for him as well.
Yeah.
I'm interested to think now that we've got to the end of his career, because I think when we're looking at drivers, at the end of we can look for an entire career. Where do you boys rate him relative to the other drivers of this kind of generation? Be that the Hamiltons, the Alonsos, and even like if we're talking like going back to the Schumachers and all that, there was kind of a bit of overlap. Well, where do we put Sebastian amongst them? Because I think it's tough because his highs, I think, have been higher. He's arguably been the most dominant F1 driver of all time in certain periods.
Yeah.
But you can't forget 2014 when Ricciardo quite convincingly outperformed him. You can't forget 2020 when Leclerc kind of took him to the cleaners.
Yeah.
There's those blots on his report card, which for me, I can't in earnest put him right up the sharp end with the Prosts, the Schumachers, the Hamiltons.
Yeah, I don't know what you think about
because they never had those moments.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one because, as you said, he was so dominant between 2010 and 2013. But even when he was at Ferrari and he was up against Lewis, there was those little moments like the Germany race, for example, where just kind of...
That'll always be the big one.
Yeah.
Just kind of bottled it, just binned it from the lead at home. Yeah, fine, tricky conditions, but like that was a massive...
Because it was like credit to him for getting into that position.
Yeah.
But you have to finish the job. And I mean, whether that car... I think that car was competitive enough to win it in 2018.
Just about. I don't think it was the better car out of the two.
No. I don't think it was better, but I think it was like that Ferrari Red Bull this year.
Yeah. Comparable.
Yeah.
To a point where if you complete the job, you win the championship. Probably.
Yeah, as well with like good strategy as well. That's also a big factor. It's not just like you just going away with it. Talking about the all-time thing, I think there is an argument to say that he should be up there with it. I mean, like you were saying before, there's been moments where it hasn't really worked out, but I think that kind of humanizes it a little bit more to where you got like these amazing drives, like Hamilton with his 7-year kind of streak, and you've obviously got Schumacher as well. With the Schumacher one, I would say that like there is a bit of an asterisk on it because it was such a different era. And then if like, for example, then he went to Mercedes and he wasn't dominating there. He did all right, but he wasn't like sort of...
Yeah, when Michael Schumacher went to Mercedes, I think it's easier for people to look past that. But that was as much part of his career as the Ferrari.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I think like with Vettel though, I think you've got those 4 great years there, but if you were to remove those, would you think then the rest of his time in F1 has been like still been absolutely stellar?
Yeah. Look, that's again, it's like with Ricciardo. Yeah. If you take away his McLaren period, he's going into 2021, he was, for me, like top 3 drivers on the grid.
Yeah.
And there was I don't think that was an unpopular opinion necessarily to put him right up there.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like I think it makes me appreciate the drivers who have been able to, the very few who've always been up there every single year. It's like beating their teammates as well.
Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to. Like, the thing is with Seb, like, any driver is going to have a start point, peak, and drop off.
Yeah.
And like with Michael Schumacher, that drop off was at Mercedes. Sebastian's was that final season at Ferrari, where he was getting his arse handed to him by Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
And he was spinning a lot. And to be honest, I'm so glad that he came back from that and ended on a high with Aston Martin. And it's kind of
100%,
looked,
man.
because I was really concerned about that time.
Yeah.
At the end with Sebastian. I know he wasn't, he just didn't really get along with the car. The car was terrible in fairness, but it was a little bit of a concern. I think a lot of the other drivers that are the so-called best out of this era haven't had that bad of a season. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
I feel like Seb's had crazy highs, really, really bad lows. Overall, he's a 4-time world champion still at the end of the day.
And like an incredible character. Like, I know he says like, oh, he won't be remembered. He will be remembered.
Yeah. You know what? I was actually interested to like, what was the sort of switching point? Because you mentioned in the show that sort of obviously like, he was kind of the pantomime villain at one point, during Multi-21.
Was you talking about this like about the dominance before? Because some people, like you mentioning there, like I'm like you, I love an underdog story because then if your favorite is just always like winning, like if you're like, for me, I don't, for example, watch football, but if I was to just choose a random team who's been really successful, then I'm just winning the entire time. But whereas if you were to go with a team or a driver who aren't doing that well, it means when they do win, it makes it even more special for you. Apart from just having a beer every single time when your normal team wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the underdogs thing is a huge one with that, and it's a bit of a different one.
Where was that sort of point? I feel like public opinion almost of Seb changed.
I think, once he, obviously 2014, that Red Bull wasn't competitive.
Not really.
That was like, Ricciardo won a few races, but it wasn't competitive to fight against the Mercedes. I think, once, I guess with that season where it was a struggle and then go into Ferrari, because there's always been like, I know it's a bit of a meme, but everyone is low key like a bit of a Ferrari fan.
Yeah.
Like you can't...
when you're young and you're playing with like cars and something, it's always the red car that you want to play with because it's the stereotypical race color car.
Yeah, and I think that's such an emotive team, and I think that was an environment that it's easy to remember, again, like you say, with Hockenheim, but he won, I think hasn't he won like the second most races of all time for Ferrari, or he's like up there. He's
sure that,
definitely second or third.
Yeah.
So like
he probably is just behind Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, he had loads of success at
Yeah.
Ferrari, and that can't be forgotten. And I guess maybe where obviously then almost like Lewis adopted that role / Mercedes adopted that role, because obviously you had Rosberg winning 2016 as well. They adopted that dominance, and then all of a sudden everyone's gunning for them.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of where
I think that's for me. Like I see it more like when he was at Ferrari, where I think the last little bit of where we saw Vettel's like villain-esqueness, as it were, which I don't really want to say because it's more just because people don't like people who are dominant, therefore they start hating them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But the last time we saw that is where Vettel swapped the position numbers in Parc Ferme.
Yeah.
Where he...
I love that, by the way.
I know. It's exact same. I absolutely love it. But that is the essence of like what his original Vettel character was now.
Yeah.
Being so butthurt about like getting a penalty and then thinking, no, that I was actually robbed of my actual race win.
Yeah.
Having to then go in and being just, there's no point in doing it. It's more him wanting to prove a point, being like, no, this is how it should be. Like, being a bit bratty.
It's actually kind of an interesting crossover of his current personality and his old one, of being petty enough to want to do it in the first place.
Totally, yeah.
And not actually caring enough about the consequences of doing it in the first place as well.
And it's
kind of like what he's like now. He just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah. And I think just after that is when we've now seen this very much like this environmentally family-friendly person, where obviously he still had a family then, but like I think he's now come the other side of where his wife always comes to all of his races, who helps him out with like mental stuff. And I think that's where it's changed.
You literally grow up in the public eye as a driver. You go through all that transitional phase from a teenager to an adult with kids and wife. Like his wife, they went to school together. You know what I mean? Like that's
they literally school sweethearts, because that's what they say. He was mentioning it on the Beyond the podcast.
Yeah, and again, like we see more of these drivers than we ever have in the past. We see more of their character, their personalities, and I think that's all kind of part of it. And there's been that full kind of I think Sebastian's career has been, he's won 4 championships. He's had really high highs. He's had some rubbish lows.
Yeah.
He's changed so much but like as a total career, it's one that like I said, Seb will not be forgotten by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, not at all.